And we're live. What's up, y'all? Okay, let's get this together. Here we go. So welcome to the Vibelytical show. We wanted to start doing some new things and highlight prominent things that happen with current events or things that are trending or things that are still popular or meaningful things that have happened recently. And so we have like a clip from C-SPAN. If you haven't heard or seen General Mark Milley in response to Matt Gaetz questioning, in which he brought up critical race theory in a line of question to Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin. And he was referencing the extremism training that the Army recently had that both Andre and I took part in as we are active duty service members. So we wanted to shine a light on, critical race theory because we have talked about that on the show. So you can watch, I think it was pop-up number 9, where we talked about Juneteenth. We talked about critical race theory. We talked about what it is. Unfortunately, there are people like Representative Matt Gaetz, in my opinion, who do not have an accurate representation of what critical race theory is. So if you want to see that breakdown, please check out pop-up number 9. Before we get the video rolling, Andre, did you have anything to add?
Just a little bit. I'm looking forward to seeing the full video of this because I only saw snippets of what General Milley said, and then I saw some of the ugly looks that Representative Matt Gaetz was making, shaking his head and just kind of being disrespectful towards General Milley in reference to what he was talking about. And I'm a big advocate of listening to understand and not necessarily listening to agree. But I think that, and that's one thing that Brandon and I have been taught in the EO program within the military at Diomi, is that you listen to understand someone's point of view, but not to necessarily agree. And I just didn't see that from Representative Matt Gaetz. And Matt Gaetz ain't got no room to be making faces. But I'll just leave it at that. But yes, I'm looking forward to seeing. I'm looking forward to seeing the whole thing and to see what Secretary Austin says as well, because I missed that part as well. So I'm looking forward to this, and thank you, Brandon, for bringing this forward. And yeah, I'm ready to see it. Oh. To Starsha's husband, Keith Hadaway. He said Matt Gaetz is a damn fool. Okay. So yeah, so let's go ahead and get started, Brandon.
All right.
That face that is usually covered by her phone has finally made an appearance.
Chairman, Mr. Secretary, why was Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Lohmeyer relieved of his command?
It was a decision made by his chain of command, and typically those decisions are made based upon either having confidence or a lack of confidence. This issue is under investigation by the IG, and so I won't comment any further on that.
In my previous discussions with service members and particularly officers, I would hear about complaints over parts not arriving on time, long deployments. And in my more recent discussions with those officers, the number one issue that they raised to me with concern, often unable to speak publicly for fear of the type of retribution that Lieutenant Colonel Lohmeyer faced, they say that your stand down regarding extremism did not help our military, it hurt the military. And I want to share with you that perspective, that it caused service members to otherize one another. It impaired group cohesion.
I wanted to pause right there, Andre. Go ahead.
So I'll say this. Okay, so I'm going to say this. I think that, once again, listening to understand, not to agree, right? But what I want to say in reference to that statement is that you only got a perspective from one person. Did you get a consensus with every command to find out if this was necessary? Because I personally have 8 units that I do command climate surveys on, and I know that all of them actually were really looking forward to this because it let them know and have a snapshot of what the climate is in reference to extremism, and then they added Sharp as a part of it too. So for him to speak as if the whole military, no, Mr. Gaetz, you can take a stadium of seats. Because no, that is not each commander that I have dealt with was looking forward to this. There was a little bit of pushback from some saying like, why do we have to do this? But after they got an explanation on why and that it was coming from Secretary Austin, they moved forward and pushed through and did it. So Mr. Gaetz, you speaking about one lieutenant colonel or whatever, lieutenant colonel you talk about, that he is not representative of the entire army. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, and I think so. He used the words the extremism training otherized and caused division. My perception, and for the reason why he's saying that is because it was my perception that the Army, in alignment with the Secretary of Defense, right, was trying to get after the fact that on the January 6th Capitol insurrection or Capitol riots or storming the Capitol, whatever, right? However you want to dress that up, that 1 in 5 were military members. I believe Matt Gaetz said what he said right there about that training, about extremism training, because extremism, the reason why I thought that we were having that training in the Army is because of the events that happened on January 6th. That in addition to, the other types of extremism that exist, that was a definite, turning factor. And I think the reason why Matt Gaetz said that, because the training would mean that there would be some type of accountability, or those people would be called out and not being called patriots by the GOP, like Matt Gaetz would probably call them, because he supports the people who stormed the Capitol. Sorry, I was trying to be careful with my words, but also make sense of my point on why I believe Matt Gaetz said what he said right there. But also he's going to say something else because, I watched the whole clip. But
well, there's one more. Yeah, and there's one thing I wanted to say too. So to kind of caveat off of what you said, that is the reason why Secretary Austin wanted a command climate survey done based off of what you said. So the extremism training that he mandated to have happen is supposed to be given by the commanders, which in turn, after that was done, then we had those command climate surveys being distributed out to the organizations to fill out. So that's the reason why I'm saying, as far as him speaking about one lieutenant colonel saying something, I just feel like that doesn't carry any weight because you're only speaking to one person.
Lieutenant Colonel Lohmeyer. Secretary Lloyd Austin is going to address that later. And basically, so what his comments were, this is a common theme that I think we're starting to see from the GOP, the Republican Party, and people who don't want equality. Anything that brings up equality, anything that brings up diversity, equity, inclusion, anything that brings up equality, they want to call it Marxism. So what Lieutenant Colonel Lohmeyer said, he made some comments that basically the military and this country is our efforts are going towards Marxism. And we keep seeing that's a common theme, right? When we talk about reparations, or when we talk reparations, not just for slavery, but for Jim Crow. And then, slavery is still illegal according to the Constitution, it's just through the prison system. When we talk about all the things that have affected Black Americans in this nation, when we talk about helping the Black Americans who built this nation, and this nation would not have a White House, it would not have nothing that it has if it wasn't for the slave free labor whenever we talk about lifting Black folks up, then it's Marxism. Should I play?
Yeah.
And interesting to me is that I've heard those sentiments most frequently from units that are majority minority, that this was not particularly helpful. So I wanted to give you the opportunity to maybe share with us more specificity regarding the definitions that seem to be a challenge.
I would have loved if he would have said which units. What units did Mr. Gaetz visit that are majority minority? Because would there, if it was majority minority, would they be otherizing in those units?
And Everett just said it. Everett just said it. Everett just said name the units. I don't know if you see his comment. Yes, he said. And then Keith said something as well. GOP doesn't believe in equality. They want the mass to remain poor and disadvantaged. That party has become a meme and don't even see it. Whatever they do is for clout on social media. Okay, Keith, you better come with it.
Thank you, Keith. And Everett.
Yeah, and Everett. Yeah, so back to what you said, Brandon, about naming the units. Yeah, I'm curious because once again, like I said, you're speaking about a lieutenant colonel and you didn't, like, for me, it's like you're just doing a lot of talking and then first of all, there's not a lot of context with what you're saying. And then on top of that, you're just like, name the units, like Everett just said, name the units, because I beg to differ that majority minority units were like, we do not need to do no extremism training.
Yeah.
Especially after what happened on January 6th.
Right.
Especially with that. That was like icing on the cake to me as to why all this is going on and why Secretary Austin decided to do it. He said something else. They leave it vague. Leaving it vague as he did with unit leaves out the chance to name a unit because no one from any unit talked to him.
See? Because I mean, and I think I just want to highlight the fact too that he has started out weaving his web of BS to the point to where it's all accusatory with no foundational basis. And he's talking to senior officials in the military.
When Ms. Hartzler was asking questions, how should the Department of Defense think about critical race theory?
Could I make a comment?
So he said, think about all of that. So he weaved all that together, right? Your extremism training is basically causing division in the military. That's what he's saying. Then he uses minorities to back up what he's saying, majority minority member units, right? To back up what he's saying. Then he brings up critical race theory. Now, did we ever go ahead?
I was just gonna ask what I'm trying to, mind you, I don't know all about the units in the Army, but are there any? I don't even think we really have many majority units in the Army right now. So I was trying to, when he said that, I'm like, wait a minute. I can't even think of any unit that is majority minority. Now, mind you, will you have some units where, like particular units, like maybe at the smaller level where there may be particularly one more, like more race than the other, but as far as like company level and above, I don't.
The only thing I could think of where maybe the demographics would be like that is maybe a National Guard or Reserve unit because of its particular location.
But see, that's the thing, right? So, I mean, because in my mind, active duty, I'm like, nah, I don't think that's the case. And when you talk, my
bad. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. I'll read it. And Johnson said PR National Guard, but Evan said having served is not the same as serving. We give too much credit to people in positions of power, government that were once members of the military, as they are SMEs on the way of the military currently. And then Refugio says PR National Guard, which is majority minority. And then Keith says a recruiter unit in certain areas.
Yeah. But still, I have not heard anybody.
Are they talking about that though? I don't see PR National Guard talking about, oh, this is a problem.
I don't either.
But like I said, I'm not perfect, so I didn't really know of any majority minority units. But based off of what our audience is saying, PR National Guard, I don't see Puerto Rico complaining. And then recruiter units, I definitely don't see them saying, oh no, we don't need extremism training. And the reason why I say that, and I want to thank Keith for bringing up the recruiter units, because I know recruiters personally that have been treated unfairly and discriminated against because they were, I'll say, Black, going to a predominantly white area and being ignored by the high schoolers and ignored by the college students. So no. And especially in the recruiter branch, now they are working towards putting like majority Black people, like the Black recruiters in the Black areas, and the white recruiters in the white areas, and Hispanic. So I mean, that's done prior to them graduating recruiter school. So based off the information y'all provided, thank you for that. So majority minority, I don't see any of the majority minority units saying no extremism training. I do want to read Everett's comment. When I was in, the leadership was light green while the workers were dark green. I know where he's going with that. And there are always more workers than leaders. Not saying everywhere, but some of the places that I was stationed. Thank you for that, Everett. You want to take Johnson's comment too? Because she said something above him. Evening leadership boards is of consideration.
Okay, we'll keep rolling.
Secretary, I'm sorry. I'm very limited on my time, General Milley.
Well, I just want to make comment that
I've asked the question to Secretary Austin.
I don't know what the issue of critical race theory is and what the relevance here with the department. We do not teach critical race theory. We don't embrace critical race theory, and I think that's a spurious conversation. And so
come on, spurious. I looked that up earlier. It's false or a fake argument.
I like when I'm just gonna keep it real on here, y'all. I like when a Black person uses a big word. I just wanted to say that. Sorry, shout out to us.
Thank you, Everett. Thank you.
Oh, whatever. Yeah, I want to read it.
Oh.
And I wanted to say, good job with getting the videos to work for us. Yes, because I think this brings more people in. So shout out to Brandon.
Yeah, thank you.
We are focused on extremist behaviors, and not ideology, not people's thoughts, not people's political orientation. Behaviors is what we're focused on. But one final point, and thanks for your anecdotal input, but I would say that I have gotten 10 times that amount of input, 50 times that amount of input on the other side that have said, hey, we're glad to have had the ability to have a conversation with ourselves and with our leadership. And that's what we need to make sure.
Mr. Secretary, it may be that you're receiving that input in the ratios you described because it was your directive. It may be that people are concerned about criticizing your decision because Lieutenant Colonel Lohmeyer was not relieved of his command for his actions. He was not relieved of his command because of poor performance regarding his duties. He was relieved of his command precisely because of his thoughts and because of his critique of critical race theory. It is particularly helpful that you have said that the Department of Defense does not embrace critical race theory and that you think the discussion is not appropriate. I would suggest that it is the ideology.
So he keeps defending Lieutenant Colonel Lohmeyer, right?
I'm tired of Lieutenant Colonel Lohmeyer now. I'm tired of him. But
so the thing is, like, I'll pull up. What we could do is we could pull him up after we're done showing the video. But I would say it sort of seemed like his comments disparaged the military. Like, no matter what we say on this show right here, we're not going to disparage the military. And you can't be no commanding officer disparaging the military or military members. You know what I'm saying? Like, that just isn't cool with it. And he's about to address Secretary of Defense Austin's about to address what Matt Gaetz is saying about Lieutenant Colonel Lohmeyer and him being relieved.
That is not appropriate, and it is particularly concerning to me that you have hired a critical race theorist to give you advice on personnel matters, and that person is Bishop Garrison. And I would particularly observe that on July 27, 2019, Bishop Garrison tweeted regarding former President Trump, he's dragging a lot of bad actors out into the sunlight, normalizing their actions. And here's the relevant part. If you support the president, you support that. There is no room for nuance in this. There is no more, but I'm not like that talk. And then he replies to his own tweet with what seems to be a very ethno-nationalist hashtag black.
I just wanted to look. I don't have no comment. I just wanted to look. Okay, we can continue.
44. Could you enlighten us as to what advice Mr. Garrison has given you? And are you concerned that while you testify publicly to our committee that the department doesn't embrace critical race theory, you have hired someone who is precisely a critical race theorist?
This is the first I've ever heard Mr. Garrison be described as a critical race theorist. So this is new. And I'm sure
did you review his tweets before you hired him personally? Did you review his tweets before you hired him?
I did not personally review his tweets.
Look at the lady behind Secretary Austin.
You're trying to be looking like
you can share in just these final seconds regarding any advice he's given you.
Let me just share one other thing that you brought up, Congressman, about the input that comes to me. You know, I trust my leadership from top to bottom that they will give me fair and balanced and unvarnished input.
Unvarnished.
For you to say that people are telling me what they want to hear, what I want to hear, I get it, but I'm smart enough to know
that does happen.
Yeah, you know, maybe they're telling you what you want to hear.
Well, I don't know that they even know what I want to hear.
Time has expired. Mr. Brown is recognized for 5 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, and thank you, gentlemen, for joining us today. I know my time is very precious, but I would like to yield some of my time to General Milley because I know that he had some comments that he wanted to make when Representative Gaetz was talking, as well as Mr. Waltz, about a similar subject of the stand down and race theory. Would you like a minute or so to comment on that? Do you remember what your line of questioning or thought was there?
Sure. First of all, on the issue of critical race theory, et cetera, I'll obviously have to get much smarter on whatever the theory is.
You want to read that comment? You want me to read that comment?
Yeah.
Did he have the same concerns when Trump had Brandon as an advisor, or is it just this particular person? Ooh.
So to give another plug, you got to go back and watch Pop-Up 9 if you haven't, where we talked about Juneteenth and critical race theory, and we broke down the definition of it. There's a lot of lies surrounding critical race theory and what it is, and a few of them are that it's being taught in the school system. It's definitely not taught in the public school system. Another thing that's a lie that's told is that it teaches that all white people are the oppressor and black people are the oppressed. Actually, critical race theory moves away from particular groups of people or particular individuals, and it looks at a systemic process which allowed for things like systemic racism to continue even today. And we even gave examples on how systemic racism is still affecting Black Americans in this country. And it's not even just reduced to black and white. And it's a theoretical study that you learn at the master's and the doctorate level. It's a theoretical study that goes into all of the social makeups and the social constructs that equate to the current system that we have today. That's all it is. So all these people who say that they're against critical race theory, I have not heard one person really describe it as it is. And it's a theory. So even a theory has other branches off of it, right? So sometimes people might say they believe in something, but it's another theory that's connected to another theory. I think, Everett, to answer your question, I think he has a problem with anyone who believes that critical race theory is a good thing. And General Milley is about to put it down. You got anything, Andre, or should I continue?
But I do think it's important, actually, for those of us in uniform to be open-minded and be widely read. And the United States Military Academy is a university. And it is important that we train and we understand. And I want to understand white rage, and I'm white, and I want to understand it. So what is it that caused thousands of people to assault this building and try to overturn the Constitution of the United States of America? What caused that? I want to find that out.
I wanted to start right there. Okay, so General Milley is coming with it. So what's interesting is the people who stormed the Capitol, Matt Gaetz would call those people patriots.
Yeah, that's what Trump said.
Tucker Carlson would call them, they were patriots. How are they patriots? Like, so they're only about the Constitution when they can interpret it in a way that supports whatever their agenda is.
Well, that's politically charged, right? So, and then another thing is, you know, I don't know how you can say it's patriotic when there's Confederate flags in there as well. So for you to say anything's patriotic, and I saw several patriotic, not patriotic, Confederate flags being flown while they were storming the Capitol. So what's patriotic about that? Please tell me.
Or these same people say they support law enforcement and they support police. But we all know, we've all seen the videos. And if you haven't, they're online. You can YouTube them or whatever. People who stormed the Capitol, threatening police, beating police, fighting police, overrunning the police.
I want to maintain an open mind here, and I do want to analyze it. It's important that we understand that because our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians, they come from the American people. So it is important that the leaders, now and in the future, do understand it. I've read Mao Zedong. I've read Karl Marx. I've read Lenin. That doesn't make me a communist. So what is wrong with understanding, having some situational understanding about the country for which we are here to defend? And I personally find it offensive that we are accusing the United States military, our general officers, our commissioned, non-commissioned officers of being, quote, woke or something else because we're studying some theories that are out there. That was started at Harvard Law School years ago, and it proposed that there were laws in the United States, antebellum laws prior to the Civil War, that led to a power differential with African Americans that were 3/4 of a human being when this country was formed. And then we had a Civil War and Emancipation Proclamation to change it. And we brought it up to the Civil Rights Act in 1964. It took 100 years to change that. So look, I do want to know. And I respect your service, and you and I are both Green Berets. But I want to know. And it matters to our military and the discipline and cohesion of this military. And I thank you for the opportunity to make a comment on that.
Thank you, General. Changing.
Right? What do y'all think? What do y'all think? What you got, Andre?
So seeing it in its entirety like that, because like I did see General Milley's response or General Milley's statement, but then coupling that with
sorry.
Oh yeah, we gotta cut that off. But coupling that with Secretary Austin's response was just like double, like it was a double hit, like boop boop boop. And Everett said, he says, boop. See that reaction, shaking of the head? He just recognized that this general went off the script for their talking points. And yeah, he did. And I don't think that no one in that room was prepared for that. I think that, well, I know that General Milley has a writer that basically has like what he needs to say ready. Because he is, I mean, obviously a 4-star general. So he has people that give him like things to say based on the talking points that are discussed in that chamber or whatever. But yeah, it's a big boop to Matt Gaetz, and it threw him off. And, you know, like, I was just like, okay, Matt, like, what you gonna say? Matt Gaetz, what you got? Oh, all you got to do is, all you doing is shaking your head? Yes. It's laughable to me. So, yeah, that was deep. What do y'all think? For those of you that are watching, besides Everett, because Everett going in. For the rest of y'all that's watching, what do y'all think?
No, not besides Everett. Keep going, Everett.
Well, I mean, Everett gonna keep going anyway, so I don't need to encourage Everett to to say anything. But what do y'all think? I mean, I think that that I think that General Milley saying that. Ooh, I'm about to be a little controversial with this statement. I think with General Milley saying what he said, it probably pissed off some service members that are racist.
Mm-hmm.
I'll drink my wine on that.
Mm. Mm.
And the reason why I say that, y'all, the reason why I say that is because it has been identified by the FBI that there were quite a few service members currently serving that were there. So if they were there, then there's people in our formation right now, in me and Brandon's formations, that that probably support the extremist activity going on.
That probably agree that those people who stormed the Capitol are patriots.
Mm-hmm.
So let's I got an article pulled up.
Keith says, I know nothing of this race theory course, but I still don't see the problem. The problem of it being taught.
Yes. So Keith, yeah, go check out, or I can tell you what source we use. I used an article from edweek.org, and type in critical race theory. And it's basically a theoretical framework that studied, like General Milley just said what it was. It was started in the late 60s. And it talked about how basically America as a social construct is set up, and the laws that basically have boxed Black people out from being able to participate in this so-called great nation that we live in. And so it really broke all those things down, from slavery to Jim Crow to even now. In that article, they talked about how single family zoning for homes is still inherently racist. Then I think on that same show, did we play the video of the woman who was attempting to sell her home, and she borrowed her she had a Black friend, a Black girlfriend, and her husband was white. So she listed her home, and they like offered her a very low price for her home. I think we showed that, right?
No, we didn't show that on here. You know, we didn't have it work. It was me and you just having our moment.
Oh,
you didn't show this on the show.
Ooh, okay, we're gonna do that.
If you want to look that up and show it, we can. But
okay.
But yeah, whenever she did it, it was like worth $110,000. But then when the white man did it, it was almost triple what the original.
And what she did was she had her pictures up and all that stuff the first time she listed, and people came to the open house. This time she had the white man pose as her brother, her friend's husband posed as her brother. She took all her pictures out of there, and then like she conducted an interview, like she was on ABC or CNN or something, and she was talking about like what that meant to her. So that's some of the things that critical race theory kind of looks at. It definitely does not look at particular people, but more so systemically how the laws, right? Like back in the day, Black folks, the 3/5 clause, it looks at stuff like that, and how the American, it's a way, a theory is a way to explain what is currently or what's happening. So like the problems with Black wealth and white wealth, the disparities between it, that's what critical race theory would uncover, some of those things.
And Everett said there is an agenda, and that agenda survives and exists to keep things the way they are, jockeying to maintain a position of power.
Yeah.
And then Keith said, I've heard of that story before. I believe the price almost doubled. Yeah, so it almost tripled, actually. It actually almost tripled. Just because that white person went in there. So, and just to know that that's happening to one person, is definitely happening to way more people that's unreported.
Look, y'all, read that.
Tucker Carlson on General Mark Milley. He's not just a pig, he's stupid. Yeah, Brandon told me about that earlier today. I did not know anything about it, but Keith says, just from what you explained about the race theory, it's all true. The system was against African Americans since day one of this country's birth.
Yes, and it's pretty disrespectful if you ask me. But to continue on, like So some of the reaction, and Tucker Carlson is probably one of the most watched people in news. So the things that he says is kind of important, and we want to talk about what's relevant. And there's probably some military people who agree now.
And Everett says, "Oh, you took it on." And where was the other military leadership when this was said? I mean, I said that earlier.
So, I mean, we don't have to read this whole article, but
what part do you want me to read? Do you want me to read some of the stuff that
that you can read that first paragraph right there. Yeah.
Okay. So in a segment on Tucker Carlson tonight, Thursday evening, Fox News channel host Tucker Carlson said, described General Mark Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, as a pig and stupid. And Milley got his position as the highest ranking and most senior military officer in the United States because he knows who to suck up to, and he's more than happy to do it.
So the multitude of what General Milley said, that's his comeback. Like, but the Republican Party, the GOP, respects the military though, and law enforcement. So it's sucking up to say you want to understand. So it's sucking up because if you don't agree that the people who stormed the Capitol are patriots, then you're a pig and you're stupid. Like, I mean, he called them some of the worst things. He said that about he said about the chairman of the
highest. He's literally at the highest level in the Army. He used to be the Army Chief of Staff. Now he's a chairman. Like, he's literally with the bigwigs. Like the highest ranking and highest position in the freaking military. Like in the Army per se, because there's all the branches have their 4 stars as well. Let's read Everett's comment underneath the military leadership comment. He knows who to suck up to, and he's more than happy to do it. Not saying that it's true at all. The pot meet the kettle. That man is a hypocrite.
Well,
and then Keith says Tucker Carlson probably never even heard of General Milley until that moment. For him to make a comment on how he rose through the ranks is absurd.
Very. It's character assassination, and that's what people on that channel love to do on that network.
Do you want me to read that comment there?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay. So Carlson, after oh my gosh, after airing part of General Milley's testimony, laughed and said, "He's not just a pig, he's stupid." Carlson said of Milley, who graduated from Princeton before joining the Army, where he served multiple combat tours, he didn't get that job because he's brilliant or because he's brave or because the people who know him respect him. He is not, and they definitely don't. So
who is he to say any of this?
Like Tucker Carlson, what degree does Tucker Carlson have? Does he have as high of a level degree as General Milley?
I don't know.
I mean, not that it matters, just asking. Because I feel like anytime you want to go in on somebody like that, you need to be right alongside them with your education as well. Then, if you want to sit there and come for a General Milley.
Well, and there's a way to do things with respect, right? Like if you want to critique somebody,
I can respectfully. I say respectfully check somebody, but I mean, checking somebody's checking somebody. But so is Princeton under attack now as well? I don't know. I don't know. I don't think Princeton is personally. Keith says Tucker Carlson is a trust fund baby trying to sell the image of being blue collared and representing them in their agenda. He is fighting the power to keep his show on TV. He stands for nothing but the dollar.
True.
Yeah. We've said that. Thank you for that, Keith. We've said that on prior episodes of the show.
And it's crazy how much money there's to be made saying these irrational things. Like people just eat this stuff up. I'm not sure how they make so much money, but I guess it's the idea that racism makes a lot of money. I mean, it built this whole nation. So I want in keeping with the fullness of the story, right? And we like to bring up, the facts of the matter and deal with the truth as it should be to the best of our ability. So I want to talk about Lieutenant Colonel Lohmeyer. So
Air Force Inspector General takes over review of fired Space Force commander's speech.
yes. So hopefully this comes up with some of the things that he said.
Okay, so I'll read this. So
Okay.
the Air Force Inspector General will take over an ongoing investigation into the conduct of Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Lohmeyer, a Space Force officer who was fired last week after publicly criticizing the Pentagon's diversity push and what he believes is Marxism spreading in the ranks. Lord Jesus. Lieutenant General Stephen Whiting, head of the Space Force's Operation Command, removed Lohmeyer, commander of the 11th Space Warning Squadron at Buckley Air Force Base, Colorado. Really? I've been on Buckley. From his post on May 14th, according to a Space Force spokesperson. The lieutenant colonel was reassigned to an unnamed job. Yeah, it needed to be unnamed because Lord Jesus. At issue are comments Lohmeyer made on the Information Operation podcast, while he said something on a podcast, while promoting his self-published book, Irresistible Revolution, Marxism's goal of conquest and the unmaking of the American military. At Whiting's direction, Space Operation Command was looking into whether Lohmeyer's comments amounted to prohibited partisan political activity, which you're not supposed to be doing, according to military.com, which first reported this story.
We got some comments. I'll read the comments since you're reading that. So Everett says, what I mean is, since he mentioned that General was a Princeton graduate and is now stupid, is he saying Princeton produces stupid people? I guess he is. Keith says GOP lawmakers and right-wing news anchor is the best job security in U.S. right now. I mean, there's a lot of money in it. There's that word Marxism. Exactly. So it's crazy to me that any type of equality, any type of reparations, any type of study, and when you go back to watch that, I'm gonna keep plugging it. When you go back to watch Pop-Up 9, where we talk about critical race theory, they're lying and saying that we teach critical race theory in elementary school because they don't want nothing to be talked about. They don't want Trail of Tears to be talked about. They don't want slavery to be talked about. They don't want anything dealing with race to be talked about in American public schools unless it's whitewashed. So basically,
basically, Lohmeyer is about to be pushed into retirement. That's the unnamed job. Keith, you read my mind because that's what I was about to say. So I'm gonna read that last little half.
Okay.
IG decided to launch its own inquiry due to the complexity and sensitivity of the issues under consideration, as well as potential for the Department of the Air Force wide impact. Service spokesperson Ann Stefanik said Thursday it replaces Whiting's investigation, which was suspended.
Okay.
Ooh, that's deep.
And I was just trying to find what he actually.
What he said?
Yeah. I don't know if it's in this.
It may be in there. I thought it was further. It's not further out.
Is it?
I thought.
I mean, you sort of. I mean, we sort of highlighted some of it, but
go down though.
Down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right there. Right, that small part.
There we go.
Argues the Defense Department's efforts to further diversify the force and bring a multitude of experiences and perspectives to the table, as well as similar initiatives in other U.S. institutions, are wrecking civil society. Lord Jesus.
So to me, I mean, what do y'all think of? Everett, when you hear this, or Keith, when you hear this, when you read that statement, like what comes to your mind? And anyone else watching, what comes to your mind when we read that? I want to read it again. Lohmeyer argues the Defense Department's efforts to further diversity, the force, and bring a multitude of experiences and perspectives to the table, as well as similar initiatives in other U.S. institutions, are wrecking civil society.
So Refugio says that is completely true. I didn't learn about slavery till college, and all I learned was how great Christopher Columbus was. And then Keith said, people that use Marxism, liberalism, communism, and socialism don't know what those words really mean. I admit that I don't fully understand the full meanings in all causes, but I don't throw around buzzwords. And then Everett says he wants everyone to shut up in color. You know what, Everett? He wants a hug from me. Okay? Next time I see you, Everett, I'm hugging you. Okay? Because you need one.
Yeah. Thank you, Refugio. I think that, you know, that's really how they want to keep things. And even if you remember Rick Santorum talking to some young group of Americans, and he said that Native American culture was basically savages and nothing was here until, you know, the Europeans to the whites came over. And like, I mean, it took CNN a minute to fire him, but they eventually fired him for those comments.
Refugio says it only seems that way because they don't want minorities to have power or be in a position of power.
Right. And knowledge is exactly that. And I think the shameful part of it is what these men, if I were to summarize their argument, what they're saying is we're destroying society because society is becoming more brown and the brown people are becoming smarter. And that's what's wrecking society. When it's really the exact opposite of that. It's because there is more knowledge and people are continually being boxed out. So if we're gonna keep boxing people out, then that is just going to expand. And the racist history that this nation has is going to feed into other webs. Like it's going to go from racism to economics, and those always have been really connected, but I really think that these people are trying to resurrect the racist history and teach the young people today to maintain that, which is why I think, you know, the powers that be wanted to ban TikTok, because social media is sort of bringing all types of people and all types of perspectives together. Anybody can start a YouTube channel.
Yep, Keith says, I don't see how diversifying can hurt anything. Doesn't make sense. Sounds like he wants to keep something quote unquote pure. That's the tip of him saying basically being racist if you continue to look into him more.
Yes.
And then Refugio says, but they want to use the Aztec calendar.
Yes. So what I don't understand is like, how does Lieutenant Colonel Lohmeyer, like, how did he not understand how that was going to be taken as being in such a high command? Like, he's a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force, right?
Yes. Oh, I'm reading this comment, the paragraph underneath. He told military.com. Lord Jesus. Let's read Everett's comment before I read it, though. Everett said, I will give you this. Make America great again. MAGA. What are they truly trying to say? It plays into all of this. It does. So this book, now the #1 bestseller among military.
Start at the one above that first.
Oh, you want to read the, okay. So he told military.com he didn't intend to engage in partisan politics, and that Buckley's public affairs office and legal counsel said DOD didn't need to review the content of his book before publication. Oh, really? Because that's supposed to happen because you are a service member and you sign a contract. So you definitely have to get approval. Like, come on now, you all colonel. Anyway, the book, now the #1 bestseller among military policy offerings on Amazon, claims that federal agencies are vessels of various schools of thought that are rooted in Marxist ideology, bent on the destruction of America's history and founding philosophy of Western tradition, specifically Judeo-Christian values, and of patriotism and conservatism.
That's a whole bunch of words that say to me that America's history and founding philosophy is white.
You just broke it down so beautifully there. Okay.
Yeah, like, because I mean, Judeo-Christian values, like who's included in Judeo-Christian values? Who's included in patriotism? And who's included in conservatism? Because what he said was, you know, and the way that Keith was breaking down, he wanted to keep things, sounds like somebody wants to keep things quote unquote pure, and that efforts to diversify and bring in other perspectives, which would mean probably other cultures would be another word we could use.
Which is, and also critical race theory.
Yeah, he's saying it would. He's saying that is wrecking civil society, not the actions of, like, if we want to look at 2020 and police brutality, not the actions of those who took an oath to serve and protect, not the actions of politicians who make empty promises and say we're going to do these things for you and never pass actually any social progressive policy like Medicare for all, at a time where we needed, like, there was a whole pandemic, and the richest nation in the world, most access in the world, and we still ain't got health care.
And then Keith says, but social media is still hurting some demographics. Tons of TikTok creators are going unheard of. Soon as a white person does their TikTok, they blow up instead of the original creator. Keith, I just saw this today. Yes. Oh my God, I just saw this. And shout out to Sunny Hostin from The View. She spoke about this last month in reference to Black creators going out there creating these amazing dances and dance moves and all this stuff. But the white person that copies them, they get called to go to Ellen. They get called to go to different places and promote the dance move, but they weren't the originator of it. So it's very true that happens. TikTok, is great when it comes to spreading your talents and stuff. There's amazing content. I'm not saying that all white creators be copying, because they don't. I'm just saying, but that has been a trend that it's been stolen from those Black creators. So they stop doing TikTok. They get off. There's a lot of Black people leaving TikTok saying, you know what? I got a platform. I'm gonna move to YouTube. So now I'm gonna move my stuff to YouTube. There's a lot of Black creators saying, you know what? TikTok, you was good, you was cute while you lasted, but they're moving over to YouTube because they're like, YouTube hasn't been shadow banning my stuff, which is kind of what we doing too. Well, over to YouTube.
Well, we on YouTube, we on Twitch. Yeah.
Everett said he did understand, and there's a level of comfort that he felt nothing would happen. He knew he was surrounded by like-minded individuals at the top. It only became an issue when someone above those like-minded individuals had the power to question the words.
Yes. So let's read that next paragraph. Why is it moving? Let's read this next paragraph, because I think that
saying the author pointed to a memo. Okay, so the author pointed to a memo from Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, the first Black man to lead the department. I just had to say Black like that. Urging troops to better understand and denounce white supremacists and other politically extremist ideologies that advocate for government overthrow, as well as a 70-page Air Force manual for commanders on how to discuss radicalization with their units as examples of leftist ideas that are stomping out American liberties.
And like, I mean, what leftist ideas are stamping out American liberties? That's what I would like to know.
It's the way to deflect, in my opinion. That's what I think. It's a way to deflect the attention off of you.
And you know what's so interesting too? Like Keith was talking about earlier, socialism, communism, like people throw away these terms, but in my personal belief, I don't know if any country is actually what they say they are. So in America, I believe we are highly socialist, not just because we have Social Security, but because the billionaires ain't paying no taxes. So we have corporate socialism. So if you have enough resources, if you have enough money, if your name can generate a lot of money, then you don't have to pay your taxes. So who's paying your taxes? The middle class. So is that not a form of socialism? Because you didn't put anything in and you're reaping all the benefits. To me, that is like the worst form of socialism. We would be probably better off if we were more socialist than we actually are. And if the rich, we probably wouldn't have to change the hard part about talking about economics is we're not what we say we are, and we don't really know what we have. It's kind of like trying to balance your budget, but you don't know what's coming in. Right? How can you do it? You can't. So before we make any kind of economic reform or tax reform in America, we got to close the loopholes, billionaires pay your fair share, and I guarantee you that would cover all the rest of the bills.
Well,
but like
they're
there's
not going to pay their fair share. They're not doing that.
see,
No.
see,
That's the reason why they want a Republican in the seat, because when it comes to taxes, I mean, do I need to go further? I mean,
yeah. But I also think I agree with you there. But I also think that the last three presidents, and even this one, they all follow the same economic stimulus plan, which is to bail out the rich. Every single one of them, starting from Bush and beyond. And probably we can go back further, but every single one of them continue to bail out the rich. That's why I'm politically agnostic until we repeal Citizens United. We will never have a candidate that represents the American people, because it's always going to go to the lobbyists.
He says America runs on corporate socialism. Who pays for sports teams, arenas? How do people attract big corporations to a certain city?
Yep.
Everett says the U.S. is not designed to survive if the rich pay taxes.
I feel like it's not going to survive because the only way out of the current downtrend that we're in right now, the only way out of it is a universal basic income. But guess what? To people like Lieutenant Colonel Lohmeyer, that's Marxism. I mean, any type of equality, any type of government action to lift up our citizens is Marxism to these people, which is crazy to me. Because I guarantee you, we could probably look at some of these people in the GOP. We can probably look at we could probably look and see who got most of the PPP money.
Well, I mean, I'm still going to bring up Nancy Pelosi, who got a net worth of $118 million.
I don't see how Nancy Pelosi is not in trouble for insider trading.
I don't either, but I don't know if for those that are watching that haven't heard me say that before, I think anytime we talk about a political figure, I'm going to bring up that if you look up Nancy Pelosi's net worth, it's over $100 million. But when you look at the net worth of, I mean, I don't know, even President Biden's net worth is significantly lower than Nancy Pelosi. So it's just crazy. Keith Hathaway says the rich have only been getting away without paying taxes since Reagan. Reagan effed Americans the long way.
Yep, they used to pay a lot more. I mean, they used to pay 70, 90. They used to pay a whole lot more.
Ooh.
Yes, he's making sure.
What about Moscow? We call him Moscow Mitch.
See? Hey, he's making sure that no progressive policy gets passed for Americans. And I don't understand how somebody like him continues to be voted in. And I don't understand why we don't have Medicare for all.
Courtney Johnson says, just like the beginning of the year with stocks, when all young people were going in on stocks using social media, raising up GameStop and etc., then all the rich folks got upset and tried to shut down some of the stock apps. That is very true. That did happen. And I think that was, a lot. I mean, this is the thing, to Courtney's point, TikTok has really created an avenue for Generation Zers to get hip to stocks and all that stuff. All these social media apps have opened up that door. And so now these young people are jumping on board, because usually when we talk about stocks, ain't no young person doing no stocks. If you really think about it, like when I was in my 20s, in my teens, I wasn't to think about no stocks. No. But now these young people now are out here doing it. Everett wants to know his net worth. I think it's like 7 million, Everett. It's low. It's not that much. Mitch McConnell's net worth is 22.5 million, y'all. But yeah, President Biden.
But guess what? Like, that's from 2014, so it's probably more than that now.
It's more than that now, yeah. And he says his rich wife inflates Moscow Mitch's net worth, so it might be hard to say.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah,
Elaine Chao, yeah. Oh, I missed this one.
Oh, that's a point. Why should anyone over a net worth of a few million run for office? It's simple, to make sure they stay rich. Look at all the policies to keep the rich from paying taxes. Both parties are guilty as hell. You better preach.
That's why we politically agnostic.
Oh, and I'm sorry, I was off by $1 million. Joe Biden's net worth is $8 million. Sorry.
Okay, we got that one then.
Everett said that is true. You're right about his wife.
Yeah. So I mean that
Asian woman, and an Asian woman he married to?
Yes, her name's Elaine Chow, and she was like the transportation. I think they own some kind of shipping company. Yeah, I mean, I think it's very, very interesting the links that people are going through, and I kind of wanted to finish this article because it has some more stuff in here that I think is kind of important.
You want to read that?
Yeah, go ahead. Starting here, the lawmakers.
Yeah, lawmakers including Representative Mike Rogers, which is a Republican in Alabama. I want to say Alabama. Ranking member on the House Armed Services Committee, HASC member Representative Doug Lamborn, Republican in Colorado, and Senator Roger Wicker, Republican in Mississippi, protested Lohmeyer's firing and suggested Congress should address the matter of conservative voices being silenced in the year's defense policy bill. I didn't mean to laugh as I read that, but yeah.
I wanted to ask y'all, so y'all watching the show, do you think conservative voices are being silenced, or are conservative voices touting racist ideas and then being canceled? I mean, what do y'all think about that? Andre, what do you think?
Repeat that question again, because I was reading Keith's comment.
Oh, okay.
Keith says, I think Biden's net worth is inflated by his wife also. I think she has a few books written. I understand the inflation piece, but I'm like, dang, can his net worth be his net worth? But I mean, I guess when you're married, it kind of, everything bleeds over, because y'all are married, so.
Yes, right?
Yeah, it bleeds over into the spouse, so I get it.
So my question is, like, they protested Lohmeyer's firing and suggested Congress should address the matter of conservative voices being silenced in this year's defense policy bill. Do you think conservative voices are being silenced? I'll leave it open like that. Do you think conservative voices are being silenced?
No, it's not being silenced because you still have Tucker Carlson. So it ain't being silenced. You have OAN, the network, OAN. They are nowhere near no silenced. So no.
Fox News.
Yeah, so no, there's no conservative voices being silenced. Actually, there's no voices being silenced. Actually, with technology and social media, actually all voices are being heard. But I kind of wanted to go back to something that I don't know. I think it was Keith that said it. Or it may have been, where he said both parties are guilty as hell. Yes, there's on both sides. I mean, that's really all I wanted to say was that both parties are guilty as hell. I'm echoing what he said. Everett said that is a good question due to crying wolf. So much all credible situations are all grouped into the BS. And then Keith says conservative voices have never been louder than before. As much as people would like. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Actually, the conservative voices are reigning even more, even in the military, as well. I think maybe they feel like their voice is being silenced now because of all this extremism training and all the command climate service that needed to be done. Because I mean, don't get me started on some of the comments I saw on the command climate service that I saw. Don't get me started, because there was a lot of individuals saying some very, 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 very inappropriate things on this survey, and they were bold enough to say these things when you know that there's anonymity during these surveys, as folks in the military know when it comes to these command surveys. So your voice is silenced. No, it ain't. It ain't silenced, sweetie. Get over yourself.
You loud. I want to read some. Critics of the Pentagon's crackdown on ideological extremism after the deadly January 6th riots at the U.S. Capitol, where a mob of President Donald Trump supporters stormed the building as lawmakers moved to certify the results of the 2020 presidential election, say the government is targeting conservatives when Black Lives Matter protesters are also a problem. Military leaders have tried to dissuade their employees from making that equivalency. But this is how, I mean, according to the comments you read, that is the gist of it, huh?
It is the gist. And
it is what I'm hearing.
It's the gist of it. I talked about the comment. I'm not going to repeat the command climate survey stuff, because that's gonna give me my feelings again. But
Yeah.
you go back to the other pop-ups that we did, I kind of covered some of those comments on the show, and I was just annoyed. I was annoyed by it. I was like, okay, but your conservative voice is silent stuff. Okay.
And just look, just this one point, like if those were Black Lives Matter protesters, they don't even have to be black. If they were Black Lives Matter protesters who stormed the Capitol.
White protesters. No, it's not just because you call it Black Lives that it was just black people. There was white people,
but
allies out there. Okay.
But my point is, if those are Black Lives Matter protesters who stormed the Capitol, who went up to the Capitol like the Donald Trump supporters did, more than one person or however many people, 2 people, I don't know how many people died, but it would have been a lot more.
It was 5.
Okay, 5. It would have been, it would have been a lot more dead bodies, in my opinion. Because look, we know they lied and they tried to say that President Trump didn't gas American citizens, but he did. He did. Just for being on the street and just for protesting something that everybody in America knows is a problem, which is police brutality, and it affects white Americans too. It affects all Americans. And police continue to get away with murder. But those people were gassed though. So think about that. These people were protesting police brutality, which has been plaguing the nation for a long time, which also goes back to the history of what police originated as, the slave patrols. You know what I'm saying? To go back and claim the property of the slave owner. And we know that there's a racial bias in the American justice system and in the police force and how police respond. And the reason why Black Lives Matter, we don't have to like the organization. We don't have to like what the organization represents, but I don't know anyone who can disagree with the sentiment that Black Lives Matter or disagree that it should exist because of police brutality. But it's just amazing to me that, I don't know, that people really make the two. How can you equate the two when one was protesting for American lives? How about that? Does that make it better? When we just say American lives, one group was protesting for American lives. One group was mad that their president didn't win and that government officials and electoral officials wouldn't steal the election for him. Talking about all I need is 25. Hold on. All I need is, can I get 35, 45, 45, 55 votes? All I need is 55 votes. Come on. Can you do it? Can I get 55? Can I get 55, 45, 45? You know what I'm saying? He's on tape saying all that. And what's crazy to me is that how delusional. This is why it's important to have a relationship with the Most High. Because I don't understand how anybody's that delusional. How can you still support someone or believe that person should be the president or say that the election was stolen from him when you got him on tape saying how? And there are service members who think this way. I think that's why I wanted to do this show, because we serve alongside people who do think Black Lives Matter is Marxist, who do think the training that we're doing is Marxism, who do think, and it's very unfortunate. 1 in 5 protesters and 1 in 5 Capitol rioters were in the military. And it could be a higher ratio than that. They just don't want to say it because it'd be kind of,
It would look real bad because the military to serve the country, and you're serving the country with those ideologies in your mind. So
yes. Okay, I want to read this last little bit. There were people advocating against social injustice. How do you advocate against social injustice, racial injustice, and everything else? And it is the right of citizens. Ramon Colon Lopez, the senior enlisted advisor to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, said earlier this year. If it's an organization that is actually imposing harm, threat, destruction, criminal activity, and so on, then we don't condone that behavior, he added. I think we're in harsh times because there's a certain amount of people who just don't want to accept the truth and facts. And I find it interesting that the biggest people who call out fake news this, fake news that, are the biggest purveyors of it. I'm using my words, purveyor.
Ever said, so have you heard that not all battles are worth fighting? Not all situations are racist. I believe that it is being used to justify so much that It will be diluted when it is truly needed. Corrupt is corrupt, does not have a race.
Amen. Amen. And we talked about that on the show too. Like, I believe there's one race, the human race. And unfortunately, that's not the reality that
Ever said cough. KKK, not an extremist group.
See? And that's the thing. Like, the reason why we have to talk about race in the situation is because that's what's made. But during President Trump's administration, when Jeff Sessions was there, all of a sudden Black identity extremists pop up on the list. You know what I'm saying? Like as a threat to America. But isn't it interesting that after President Trump's presidency, now the FBI is saying that the greatest threat is white supremacy and white nationalists?
Yeah.
But when President Trump was in office, Jeff Sessions was using the Justice Department, right? Because he was Attorney General, right? Yep. To say that Black identity extremists was a problem with no evidence of Black identity extremists. I mean, you don't even know what, they didn't even have a definition.
Keith says it's the same reason why we have people believing the earth is flat. A moon landing didn't happen, vaccines are bad. And then Keith also says people act like kids and education are so important to the country, but they don't want to invest in that resource. Get the heck out of here.
Right.
And then he said lack of education just keeps idiots around. Ooh.
Yep.
Dang, Keith's going in today. Okay.
Thank you, Keith. Yes, and I think that you are hitting on all the most important parts. But I think, you know, the system, to be honest, I think the system is working exactly as it was designed to do, which is why we're not investing in those things. Because I almost feel like, you know, isn't it crazy? So rich folks spending all this money to go to the moon, to go to Mars.
Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, but you ain't taking care of this planet. But you ain't doing nothing to, like, you know what? You know what I think would be perfect is too. Why can we not?
Ever said Keith is my new friend. Well, you should know of Keith because that's Starsha's husband, and you know Starsha. But yeah, what I was gonna say something about the whole
going to Mars
thing because I want to shout out. I want to shout out Jeff Bezos' ex-wife, the one that she divorced him for cheating. Yeah. She ended up getting, I think, $62 billion. She got a good like 40% of the money that Jeff Bezos made because she did help build Amazon. He donated $8 billion. $8 billion. She donated $8 billion, y'all. I have not even heard of a Jeff Bezos donating not even $1 billion. His ex-wife donated $8 billion. I don't know where she donated it to. You can look it up, but she donated a bunch of money. And I'm like, that's interesting. That there's some heart there with his ex-wife because I've not seen. Now I'm not saying Jeff Bezos doesn't donate at all because I'm not saying that, but I was like, that would be real big to hear that Jeff Bezos donated anything with a BILL.
Look, well, before he donate anything, how about you pay your employees a living wage? How about you fix the conditions that your people work in? You know, like before you donate anything, first, you know, pay your employees, because I think that's the thing of it. You know, I mean, it's kind of really insensitive because I think like. His ex-wife was able, I don't know her name. I would love to use her name, but I don't know it.
I can pull it.
Okay. But I think people like us, we don't know how much $1 billion really is. We can't even fathom, like, what is $1 billion? And like
211 billion.
Huh?
His net worth is $211 billion.
Bezos is?
Yes.
211 billion. Like, do you know how much money you have to spend a day to, like, I don't even know if you could spend $1 billion in a lifetime. Like, I wonder how, I need to do some calculations.
And his ex-wife is Mackenzie Scott.
Okay, Miss Mackenzie, right? I think like the fact that she donated $1 billion says that like
8 billion. No, not just one.
Oh, 8.
Yes.
Okay, she donated 8 billion.
Yes.
Okay, she donated. Okay, so $8 billion. Like, I think it just goes to show that, like, you know, when you have such an amount of money, like, it is insane It's insane.
Your kids. Oh, she said, Courtney said after the divorce.
Yeah.
Well, that makes a statement, though. That's a statement.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I don't know if McKinsey meant to make a statement by donating that much money when Jeff Bezos has not even touched donating that much money in his lifetime. But that makes sense. After they divorced, she donated that money. And Jeff Bezos can't even say he's donated the same amount. He can't even match it. And he won't. I don't see him matching it. But Ever says it's a tax write-off. Okay, that's fine. At least she, okay, because some people don't do tax write-offs, though. Jeff Bezos doing tax write-offs?
I'm sure.
I'm just saying. So even though it may be a tax write-off, it's still a donation. Well, Jeff Bezos is probably not doing no tax write-offs. Let's be real. Let's be real on that. So I can give McKinsey some credit. I'm going to give credit where it's due. It may be a tax write-off, but I don't think Jeff Bezos is tax write-offing anything with all that money. Keith says, too bad. Most of that $8 billion probably went to executives of those charities. That's probably true, too. Good point, Keith. Ever said what he said?
Yeah. And I guess, we just living in crazy times, and I just think, like, I always say this too. I'm the most disappointed with the church. The people who say we love God. You don't love God? What's wrong with you? Like Erica, like I guess I'm most disappointed in church. Like, how much is the reserve for the Catholic Church? How much is the reserve for the conservative evangelical, or not conservative, the evangelical church? How much money they got? How much money is in the PAW? How much money, you know what I'm saying? How much money is in the Episcopal Church? Billions and billions and billions of dollars. Like, they are the ones who should be changing the world.
TD Jakes.
How much TD Jakes, Paula White, Creflo Dollar, Joyce Myers, like
Joel Osteen.
Like they are the ones who should be changing the world. I mean, you preach about God, you say he's a blessing God, like.
Ever said the Catholic Church is recognized as its own nation. Just saying, dang, Everett coming today.
Hey, thank you, Everett. You're right. And I'm like, they should be changing the world. Like if the government's not going to give Medicare for all, why would the church not take that on? And because I like think about it. So let's say the church had, I mean, because they're not paying no taxes on that money, y'all.
Why your eyes had to do all that though? That was funny.
Because, like, I mean, they're not. I think it's not wrong to have the expectation that the church should be doing more, especially when that is the center of your entire message and you're preaching the one they call Jesus Christ. And you know what I'm saying?
It makes them look bad. It definitely makes them look bad when you're preaching one thing and not doing it.
Yeah.
You have the Jeff Bezoses and the Mark Zuckerbergs doing it. And all that, it's like, okay, they're not in the seat to be, but when you're preaching and doing it, it's like, ooh, you don't look too good right now.
Yeah, because I think financially stuff is about to hit. I feel like something about to go down within the next year to year and a half, maybe not even that long.
Yeah, my friend Chris, shout out to Chris. He said that he feels like the economy is going to crash in the next few months. Courtney says, remember Joel Osteen didn't open the church doors to Houston civilians during that horrible flood.
Yeah.
That's funny. I'm not laughing at that, but I'm laughing that you said that because I thought about it as you typed Courtney. So thank you, Courtney, for that, because I was like, wait, didn't he like not open his doors, and then once he got criticized and attacked, then he opened them.
Yep, sure did.
Keith says, just saw a video complaining about how too effective the Pfizer and Moderna COVID vaccines were because people won't need boosters as often and how it will affect revenue for investors. This is why America can't have a nationwide health program.
Wow. They actually said that, Keith? Dang.
Ooh. And then Ever said the church will take the money and say the Lord helps those who help individuals.
Yep. You absolutely right. And most of these pastors who started their own church, you know what's crazy? They probably won't tell you, but in order to start their own church, they started tithing to themselves.
Oh.
I'm just saying. And y'all know I get down with the scriptures, and I get down with the teaching too. And I study for myself. And you know, tithing ain't in the New Testament. That's all I'm saying. Offering is. Ain't no tithing there though. Why? Why would you tithe when he said you are a royal priesthood? 1 Peter 2:9.
Ooh, come on.
Holy nation, a royal priesthood, a chosen generation, a chosen people. He said you are a royal priesthood. The tithe was for who? The priest. So if I'm now a priest, who am I tithing to? So a priest does what? A priest gives offering, right? Mm-hmm. So the tithe went to the priest, so the priest could have to give the offering. He even said it in the Old Testament, bring the tithe in the storehouse, so there will be what? Meat. Meat in my house, right? What they do with the meat? They ate it, but what else did they do with the meat? Sacrificed it on the altar. So if now we are priests, I just set a whole bunch of people free right there. So now if we are the priest, right, then the priest is supposed to give what? Help me out, Andre. What does the priest give?
No, you tell us. What does it give?
Offering.
Well, I mean, I was about to say that, but I was like,
sorry, you didn't want to help me preach. It's okay.
I didn't want to help you. You was on a roll. Keith said, yeah, they were more concerned about stock prices as soon as they read about an article about how effective it was. If they start making less effective vaccines, that has to be malpractice.
Yeah, and it's just that's very strange to me. So like, because even when it comes to the vaccines, they used government money to make the vaccine, and they got to keep, I want to say, insane amount. I mean, Pfizer made billions. I think Moderna made billions, mm-hmm. and both of them was trying to get the military or the government contract for the military.
Yeah. Very hard to do that. None of them still yet. They're not.
I heard that it's probably going to be in the fall, and they're going to make service members get it in the fall. So,
yeah, I read that too. Keith says, I believe Pfizer didn't get government money. No, they did not. He's right. They did not. So if you paid attention to the vaccines that were given in the military, it's only Moderna and Johnson & Johnson that military folks can take. But Pfizer has not been offered to military service members.
Okay.
Yeah, they didn't pay for Pfizer.
What else? Anything else that y'all would like us to talk about? We've been on for about an hour and some change. Thank you for keeping the show rolling.
I definitely enjoy the, let's read Keith's comment. Pfizer only got the government exclusion for approval. But yes, no, I mean, I will say that, this is the format that you're probably going to be seeing in the future, you all. For those of you that are watching, Brandon and I discussed that, Ever said, Keith, my dog. But the format that you all saw today with us coming on, saying hello to y'all, and then playing a kind of like a clip of something and then discussing it with you all. This is kind of the format that we're going to be doing, especially for our pop-ups. But also when I do my topics, that for those of you that know, I do topics. I go and do my research on topics and provide some academia to you all with philosophers, psychologists, psychiatrists, all that stuff. I will also provide a clip to Brandon to present so we can watch it together and then give you all my information pertaining to that. So I think this allows you all to be engaged with us a little bit more than just hearing us run our mouths, but to get your perspective and get more interaction from you all in reference to the clips that we watch, because watching General Milley and Secretary Austin and Representative Matt Gaetz had that discussion back and forth, it allowed for y'all to see what was going on and provide your perspective on top of seeing our reaction to what was going on too. Because I know y'all probably was laughing at me jumping up and down and ooping and all that stuff. So, so this is the format that we're more than likely going to be going with further. Courtney says Pfizer is being used at Fort Sill. Okay, Pfizer's now being used. Okay, so it was last to be used. Gordon at one point was doing Pfizer. And then Everett says also instead of Brandon and Andre, it should say spiritual leader in 3000. He always wanted to call me 3000. And so to go off of what Courtney and Keith said, Pfizer was the last one to be distributed though, because I know for a long, long time it was just Moderna and Johnson & Johnson. So I think Pfizer just was the last in the chute to be used because I think for a good 2 months, it was just Moderna and Johnson & Johnson. It was Moderna for the longest by itself for a while. And then Johnson & Johnson came, and then there was a pause with Johnson & Johnson, as y'all know, and then Pfizer. So this good. I mean, I guess, I guess Pfizer, stepped up their game, and now government's paying them to use Pfizer.
Could y'all do us a favor? If you haven't liked this live stream, can you please like it, love it, or whatever? And could you share it if you thought it was enjoyable? And because we are trying to grow our platform, and the Tabitha Brown one is doing very well. That was pretty fun. We decided to get on and do that last night because we got the video figured out.
Oh, Keith said he thought J&J was the last one. Actually, you know what? You might be. Well, I want to say J&J may have been the last one. You may be right, Keith, because J&J was the last vaccine to even be made public. But I want to say that it may have been before Pfizer because they were very quick to give the military Johnson & Johnson as soon as they came out. But, I mean, don't quote me on it. I may be all the way wrong. I may be all the way wrong. But, yeah, I think you might be right. J&J may have been the last. But I know J&J was the last publicly, but I think that the military still took Pfizer after J&J. But I might be wrong.
Anything else y'all would like us to talk about? Paul's right here looking at me like, what's up? What you doing?
Oh, I see. Hello, Jeffrey. He said, brother-in-law, what it do, killer? He calls me brother-in-law because he does look like my brother-in-law, Victor. I think I told you, Brandon. He looks like, he looks almost identical to my brother-in-law. So shout out to Jeffrey Mullins. You coming on as we about to go though. Jeffrey, you about to go. We've been on for almost an hour and a half talking to y'all.
I know we have, and y'all have kept the conversation going.
Our intent was to be on for 30 minutes, y'all, and we are at an hour and a half. So due to your participation and active participation on the show, that's why we were on for an hour and a half. You ain't gonna say my bad. It's fine. You came in late. It's fine. It's cool.
Yeah, and like we want to come on more as things unfold because we always talking about things together, and we can share them with you all. And we definitely appreciate you sharing your perspectives and all that.
Keith says, "Yeah, I was supposed to be doing my homework, making a program. You guys distracted me. Oh, best of luck in your homework."
Yes.
But Keith is a fan of the show. Like Starsha put him on, and we appreciate your support, Keith. And I hope you see you with Starsha soon in the near future.
Okay. Well, I think we accomplished what I wanted to accomplish, and just to experience that together. Go over a little bit about the critical race theory and talk about the aftermath of it. And I think we covered the whole facts surrounding it. From Matt Gaetz trying to defend Lieutenant Colonel Lohmeyer, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin. I like how he low-key showed his anger, but he still held with restraint and used his he used his words.
He used big words too.
Yes, spurious and unvarnished. You know what I'm saying? And I just think it was excellent. Everett said, "Don't forget about me, Brandon." Is this what you're talking about?
I don't know what he's talking about.
Is this what he's talking about?
He's talking about a prayer, huh?
Is he?
I think so.
Is that what you're talking about, Everett? Yes. Okay. So Everett. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I think this has been an excellent show. Thank you for all your support. Please like, share, comment. If the show has been uplifting and edifying to you, if it's been informational, if you've liked it, share it on, your social media platform. We're on Twitch, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, and we just want to continue doing this. And one day,
our website, don't forget about our website.
Let me go ahead and why don't I do that too?
Check out our website, y'all.
Yes, it's live now. So we'll be making updates to that. So you can catch us at vibelyticalshow.com. And because we have a request of prayer, we shall have a prayer. And, if there's any request, does anybody have any prayer requests? Because, I like to go before the Lord and make it be known. If there's any that you want to make known, or it could be unspoken, you could just type unspoken there too, as we prepare for the benediction. I love it. Thank you, Everett, for reminding me and asking for prayer. I'll go ahead and pray now. Father, we thank you for this show. We thank you for Andre and I bringing us together, Lord. We thank you for the people who watch the show. We pray that they're blessed by it and that they are uplifted and edified, even though we talk about some serious, deep topics, and sometimes we have fun, and sometimes we may say things we shouldn't say. So we ask you to forgive us. And we know that you sit on the throne and that you're looking out for us. And even in times of unsure things, Lord, we just ask that you continue to make us sure and continue to strengthen our faith in times of economic distress, in times of mental health being affected either through the job or through geographical location. Lord, we ask now that we pray for Miss Johnson, Lord, that you would strengthen her in whatever way that you can, and we know you can, and we know that you will. Thank you for Everett, always supporting the show and asking me to pray. And God, we just thank you for being who you are and that we recognize who you are. And I just ask that you show yourself to everyone who watches this show, everyone who hasn't seen this show. We pray for our lost friends who don't know you, that they have an encounter with you and an experience with you that will cause their directions to change. We thank you for teaching us to be strong and to love ourselves, as we talk about a lot on this show, and that you put yourself first in a healthy manner, and not subjecting yourself to the opinions of others that would tear you down or cause you to not be able to complete the purpose that the Most High has put in you to do on this earth. And as we get ready to leave the show, we ask you to watch over us and keep us healthy and keep us safe, and that you would help us be refreshed through the night and enjoy the Sabbath and observe it in the best way we know how. And until we meet again, we just want to say amen.
Amen. Come on, prayer.
Yeah, I'm always down to pray. Always about that prayer life. I stay in that. You know what? For me, I stay in like if there's such a thing as an attitude of prayer, I'm kind of always praying. I'm kind of always meditating and looking for those moments. And I get excited throughout the day, and I call Andre and I blow him up, and he'd be like, "Brandon, I'm at work." And I just be wilding out. And I be working too, but I take my moments.
He's always pumped up, which is fine. It's totally fine. Say things we should not say. Shots fired at 3,000. Listen, Brandon be throwing shots all the time.
Look, I remember season 1 too. I think we was fired up on season 1. We're a little bit more refined now. And I think once we retire out of the Army, we probably
I think our follower count will go and grow and everything by the time we retire, because we'd really be unfiltered.
Spiritual leader in 3,000. Mm-hmm.
I'll take it. But yeah, we thank you for watching, and yeah, you know, Brandon's gonna close us out. If he's done, he'll close us out with our little jam out music. But I don't have nothing else for y'all. We love you all dearly, and we really
thank you for your support.
Once again, visit us at vibelyticalshow.com, which is our official website, which I'm so glad we have an official website now. And yeah, we love y'all so much, and thank you for your support.
Maybe I need to put that on the under our under executive producer put spiritual leader, and under yours put 3,000.
No, don't do that on purpose.
Good night.